For my section on public speaking, I want to give 6 tips on how to connect with your audience and let them have a good feeling while listening to your speech. The first thing is you want to understand your audience and prepare beforehand so that you can present your speech in a way that would be the most fitting. To do so, you can consider things such as the type of occasion for the speech, the general age group you're speaking to, or any interests you think that would spark the interest of your listeners. By understanding your audience and constructing a speech that you think would be most fitting for them, in theory, you will be able to connect with your listeners on a deeper level. So the second thing I want to talk about is telling stories. This can be a great way to make a connection with your audience. Oftentimes we find a speech more interesting and easier to listen to when a story is involved. This could possibly be because we are curious about others' lives, and meaningful stories allow you to create a bond between you and your audience. Your content can become far more interesting and engaging. When a story is well told, the details can evoke feelings or memories that naturally bring the listener closer. So you'll want to tell stories during your speeches as much as possible. My third tip is when you're talking to an audience, it is easy to look up, but never let your eyes land. We often do this because it is hard to look at someone in the eye and talk in an engaging way, which beginners tend to do often. So I think that if you can look at individuals in your audience and get your whole point across, you could see if you are actually connecting with your listeners, like if they're actually listening to your material. So that is a really important aspect, and looking at individuals in the audience is like a way to understand how well you are connecting. My fourth tip, what if your speech about World War II just really isn't working? Well, it's okay to acknowledge this and be honest about how well you are actually doing with your speech. To counter this, maybe you can make fun of how boring the speech about World War II is and try to reestablish the connection by letting your audience know that you understand their reaction and how bored they are maybe. So, fifth tip, you got to use positive nonverbal body language, which is something as simple as smiling. This can be a very easy way to establish a positive connection with your audience. A smile can convey good vibes to your audience and make a speech just that much more interesting to listen to. My last tip I have is probably the most important of all. You want to relax before and during your speech. Overwhelming nerves can make it really difficult to listen to a speech. There are many ways you can relax yourself before a speech. These things are, an obvious one would just be knowing your material, and engaging in social situations or physical activity is also great for relaxing the nerves before a speech. And in conclusion of my section, I think that connecting with an audience can be a really difficult task, but if you just look at it like you're talking to someone and engaging with them, it can make a lot more sense and be easier.
For my section, I'm going to talk about body language and the presence that you have to have to keep your audience engaged and be interactive, because body language is meant to add value to the words that you say. So the things that you shouldn't do when presenting is do not clasp your hands together. Do not put hands in your pockets while you're presenting. Do not hold on to something very fiercely if you're using something to read off of. Do not fidget with your hands. Do not do repetitive movements with your gestures. If you're very outgoing, then you want to do big hand gestures. But if you're shy, then using big hand gestures, it's going to look unnatural. So you want to make sure that your gestures is to who you are when you're presenting. The 3 things is that you just want to use natural gesturing throughout your presentation. Get creative on important points while you're presenting so you keep them interested, and mix up your hand gestures so they're not repetitive. And your posture is a very important thing while you're presenting because it will attract, distract, and shift or hold the audience's attention while you speak. A very important thing to do is to have the visual image. So if you're doing a presentation about business, you want to look the part, so make sure that you're dressed like as a businessman. Body image is important, so your feet and shoulders should be width apart. And make sure you have body balance and use gestures. And use your voice, make sure it has variety and can get to the back of the classroom. So in conclusion, these are all important because they'll keep your audience interested, and you can connect and add value to your meaning that you're trying to convey. And it's very important. So yeah.